So I had butterflies in my stomach before I went on my first date. Wait, what am I doing? What's going on? Well, I know what you're thinking, Lewis. You are crying. And you're correct. I was crying, but, well, I was pretending to cry. I was acting and making you think that I was crying when I was just pretending, of course. But the reason why I started off this podcast with me crying is, well, first to give you a hint about this week's topic, and secondly, to teach you a couple of alternatives to the verb cry. Because if you cry, of course, you are shedding tears, tears are falling from your eyes, but we can also use a couple of different verbs. A synonym for cry is to weep. So I was weeping, which is like kind of to cry a lot, but not too much. But if you want to emphasize even further, you can say that you are sobbing. So if I'm like, I would be sobbing. But hopefully, you guys haven't cried in a long time. And I don't think I've cried in a long time. But I must admit that sometimes when I'm watching a sad film or a very, very happy film, and there is a nice dramatic happy ending, sometimes I do weep. Sometimes I sob and I shed tears because it might seem like I'm not a sensitive person, but deep inside, I am quite sensitive with some things. Even when I'm watching sports and a football match or the Olympics, and I see that somebody has won the gold medal or any other trophy, and you see how emotional they are, I'm not going to lie, it does make me feel a little bit emotional too. It moves me. So I sometimes cry when I'm sat down on the sofa watching sport, and that just sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But hey, it is what it is. So let's move on from that and get started with this week's episode of Emotions and talking about emotions on British English Pod. Your weekly podcast to immerse yourself in British English, designed for intermediate and upper intermediate levels. Of course, if you have an advanced level, you're also going to learn plenty of slang, expressions, and so on and so forth. But just bear in mind that I'm always going to be speaking quite slowly. So you have been warned. And as always, I just want to remind you that if you would like to discuss all of these interesting topics with me in class, you can join the British English Immersion Club, my platform for group classes for B1, B2, C1 levels. It's a monthly subscription of only €60 per month, and right now I have a bit of an offer going on because some people mentioned that they'd like to try the classes, and previously I didn't want to give a free trial, but I thought, I'm going to be generous. So for a limited time only, you can test my British English Immersion Club for 7 days. So basically, you can test one normal lesson and the bonus lesson and see if you want to continue or not. And if you're not satisfied after a week, well, feel free to cancel and I will wave you goodbye and wish you the best. So yeah, I will leave a link in the description in case you want to join, and I hope to see you there soon. But let's now focus on emotions, because that is the main topic. I'm going to be chatting about emotions and showing you a few conversation questions, expressions, and idioms throughout this podcast. And let's begin with some expressions and phrasal verbs. So I'm going to tell you about some emotional idioms. And I want to start with a couple of expressions which have the same meaning. And they mean to be extremely happy. Idiom number 1 is on cloud 9, and idiom number 2 is over the moon. Both of these mean that you are delighted. You're really, really, really happy. I was on cloud 9 when I won some money gambling. I was over the moon when I saw my fiancée again after a few weeks. Both of them mean very happy. What about you? When was the last time that you were on cloud 9? When was the last time that you were over the moon? Now, how about the opposite? Well, if you want to express that you're very sad or depressed, you're not feeling yourself, we can use this expression. To be down in the dumps. Down in the dumps. I was down in the dumps when I woke up the other day. I saw it was raining. I had received a really bad email, and I just thought, oh, what a terrible day. I was down in the dumps. I was gutted. I was feeling a bit down, a bit blue. I was down in the dumps. What about you? When was the last time you were down in the dumps? Now, the third expression is to have butterflies in your stomach. And this can mean a few different things. But usually it means that maybe you're a bit smitten, you're falling for someone, you're falling in love with someone, and you've got butterflies in your stomach because you're excited about seeing them, you're nervous or anxious about seeing that person, but often in a good way. So I had butterflies in my stomach before I went on my first date. Ugh. And I had butterflies in my stomach before the job interview because I had a combination of nerves and excitement. Now let's do a fourth expression, which is to wear your heart on your sleeve. What does it mean if you wear your heart on your sleeve? Well, a person who does this, a person who wears their heart on their sleeve, is someone who openly shows their emotions. They really experience emotions. They really live emotions. My friend, Janine, she always wears her heart on her sleeve. So you know when she's upset. You can see right through her. You know exactly how she's feeling. Now from there, let's do a few phrasal verbs, And the first one's really common, and it is cheer up. Cheer up, mate. I brought flowers to cheer my girlfriend up. My mum was cheered up when my dad gave her some flowers. So cheer up is become happier. Make someone happier. And don't confuse it with cheer on, which is like to support or encourage. The audience cheered me on as I was completing the task, for example. Next phrasal verb is calm down. Calm down. And we can also say chill out. Settle down. And all three of these mean relax. Often when somebody is too excited, or they're angry, or they're upset, you can tell them, chill out. Calm down. Settle down, mate. And then moving on to another one. It is breakdown. So you may have heard that cars often break down if they stop working, but a person can also break down. For example, he broke down when he heard the bad news. This means that he collapsed emotionally. He lost control of his emotions, often crying or getting really, really angry. So if someone breaks down, they have an emotional collapse. And then we'll do two more phrasal verbs, which are opposites. We have open up and bottle up. If you open up to someone, you confide in them. You share personal feelings with them. He finally opened up about how stressful work has been. Whereas bottle up is the opposite. It's like hide or suppress emotions. I could give you a piece of advice and say, don't bottle up your feelings. Talk about them. It's very important not to bottle up your feelings. You should, talk about how you feel. Do you know what I mean? I think you do. So, that's the first section of this podcast, reviewing some idioms and some phrasal verbs. And now we can have a chat. And I'm going to answer some different simple questions and give you some personal experiences at the same time. But that being said, remember to like this video or recommend this podcast to someone who might find it useful, because with your support, I can help more people. So fingers crossed that you're able to show this video and podcast a little bit of love, because love is an emotion as well. So we are on topic. All right, let me now share my screen. If you're watching, fantastic. If you're not, no worries, mate. You can just listen. It's all nice and simple. And my first question is, are you a sensitive person? Are you like me, where you break down on the sofa on a Sunday when you're feeling knackered because you're watching a lovely romantic comedy? Are you? Do we see eye to eye? Are we similar? Because as I mentioned, sometimes I can be quite a sensitive person. I wouldn't say I'm the most sensitive person, because sometimes I do bottle up my emotions, and I find it hard to open up to new people. But I am sometimes sensitive when it comes to watching things that make me feel different things, and I feel sorry for people quite a lot. I have quite a big sense of pity. So if I see someone outside and they're struggling, maybe they're begging, or I see someone else who's just fallen over in the street, my first reaction would be to laugh. And I'd be, he just fell over in the street. What a loser. And then if I see that this person is actually bleeding, then I'll panic and I'll go over and I'll help and see if they're okay. So I can be a little bit sensitive, if that counts as sensitive. Now, number 2, what makes you happy? What makes me happy? Well, I'm happy when I have a good class, that I feel like it flows well and I have a nice connection with my students. And I'm obviously happy when I see that I receive new students. When I get that email, it's like, come on. But other things, of course, that make me happy are spending time with loved ones and winning when you're doing different games, because I can be quite competitive. And other stuff that makes me happy, to be honest, it's a little bit of an addiction that I think happens to most people. But it's true that when I post a video here on YouTube or Spotify or on Instagram, and I see that the engagement is really, really good, of course, this does make me feel happy. It's the truth. Now, what about the opposite? What makes me feel sad? Again, I could say the opposite things. So when I lose a match, when I don't, I don't know, get new clients or videos do badly, of course, this does make me a little bit sad, but a lot of the time I take it on the chin. Lovely expression. If you take something on the chin, it means you just accept it and move forward. But other things that make me sad, well, the news at the moment makes me very sad, and seeing everything that's going on, that does make me feel quite sad. And yeah, I think I feel sad when I see that other people are upset or angry. And what else makes me feel sad? I think those are the main things. That, of course, you will go through different emotions during the day and the week, and you'll have ups and downs, highs and lows, but genuinely sad, like down in the dumps, is with serious things. When somebody I know is sick, or they're having a bit of a disastrous time, that really can make me feel sad, or devastated, or depressed, or distraught. And how about number 4? What makes me feel angry? What makes me feel angry? Well, I feel angry when people try to rip me off. And rip someone off is to try to cheat someone out of money, to con them, to swindle them. I've probably mentioned this story before, but if you go somewhere or you get a taxi and they try to take more money than they should from you, this makes me angry, and I will always make sure that in these scenarios I stand my ground. Meaning that I stay where I am and I don't give in to the pressure. And now number 5. When do you usually feel bored? Now, to be frank, to be honest, I rarely feel bored. I think nowadays with your phone, laptop, all of these things, it's hard for me to feel bored because I can always watch a series, I can always play on my phone, I can always go out. So the amount of times when I actually feel bored nowadays is very, very rare. I'm not sure if the same thing happens to you or not, but boredom feels like a thing of the past. And maybe it's actually a good thing if we feel bored. Because if you feel bored, I think that maybe pushes you to be a little bit more creative and to think outside of the box. But if you don't have the time or possibility to feel bored, then maybe you're never going to be creative. What do you think about that? Do you think it's a problem that we don't really feel bored anymore? Because I think it could be. And one more question before we keep advancing and keep moving forward is, are you good at managing your emotions? And I would say yes. I am very good at managing my emotions. I'm able to stay quite calm, cool, and collected. So if I'm happy, I'm never that happy. If I'm sad, I'm never that sad. If I'm angry, I'm never that angry. I manage to, I guess, self-regulate and ensure that I never get too enthusiastic about anything, but I never get too down in the dumps about anything either. So I'm good at staying on a level. And, well, there are, of course, moments when it's harder to do that, but generally speaking, when I compare myself with others, I think myself, and to be honest, a lot of my friends and family were quite good at just staying chilled and not getting too irritated. Maybe it's an English thing. I'm not sure. Or maybe not. Maybe it's just the people I surround myself with, the people I hang out with. Now let's move on. I'm quickly flicking through an activity, and let's keep talking. This time using the past simple, because for each of these questions, using different adjectives to describe emotions, I'm going to tell you about the last time I felt a certain way. So the structure is, when was the last time you were... We could use the same structure to ask about activities, like, when was the last time you cycled? When was the last time you went abroad? When was the last time you tried new food? And stuff like that. So when was the last time you were exhausted, and why? And you're going to think I'm making this up. You're going to think that I'm inventing it. But no, it's true. The last time I felt exhausted was right now. Honestly, I'm so tired. I'm knackered. But it's not a very nice day outside. It keeps raining, and then the sun comes out, and then it keeps raining. So what I would normally be doing right now is going for my walk and getting out of the house, but it was raining when I started recording this podcast. So I thought I'd be productive. But this week I've been struggling to get a good night's sleep and sleep a lot of hours, which sometimes happens. So then I wake up and I feel like I haven't rested properly. And I feel like I need to catch up on sleep, to recover sleep. So yeah, right now I'm exhausted, I'm knackered, I'm shattered. So the last time was as we speak. So for that reason, linking it with the next question, the last time I was sleepy was now. Or maybe this morning, because now I've had some coffees, so I'm not that sleepy anymore. But definitely today. And the next question, when was the last time you were hungry, and why? And this was about an hour ago, because you may know by now that I always fast. I never really have breakfast. I don't have brekkie. I skip breakfast to do some form of intermittent fasting. I don't do it very strictly, but given that I don't have breakfast, you could argue that I fast intermittently. So 1 hour ago, I hadn't eaten anything, and I'm recording this at about 2 o'clock. So 1 hour ago, just before 1 o'clock, I hadn't eaten anything, so I was hungry. I was starving. So I made myself a big bowl of cereal. It's kind of like muesli, so you've got lots of oats, and you've also got fruit, some nuts. So I gobbled up a big bowl of cereal, and now I'm quite content. I'm not hungry anymore. Thank God. By the way, phrasal verb, gobble up. If you gobble something up, you eat it quickly with a lot of enthusiasm. So I gobbled up my bowl of cereal. Next question. When was the last time you were scared, and why? And let me just have a drink. Got to stay hydrated. Hydration is important. But let me think. The last time I was scared was... Okay, it was during a nightmare. It was a nightmare where, during this nightmare, I was dreaming that my bottom front 2 teeth had fallen out. And this happens to me quite a lot, and it's scary, and I don't know the root cause. I don't know why it happens, but I was feeling, whilst I was sleeping, that my bottom 2 teeth were like moving from side to side, and there was a moment in my dream where they actually came out. And as you can imagine, me believing that this was true in the moment, I was like, oh no, my life is over. What am I going to do? So during the dream, I rushed to the dentist. The dentist tried to fix the problem but wasn't able to do it, and I woke up. So when I woke up, I was terrified. I was horrified. I was petrified. Touching immediately my bottom two teeth, like, are they still there? Have they gone? And luckily, fortunately, it was only a dream. Phew! What a relief. But I was scared when that happened. Now, next emotion, surprised. When was the last time you were surprised and why? I was surprised when... Okay. I was surprised when I got to the bus station, the coach station at Charleroi Airport in Brussels after arriving late on the plane, and as luck would have it, the coach was waiting just for us. I didn't have to wait around anymore. I scanned my ticket, I got on the bus, I put my backpack in the overhead storage area, and it was like, yes, no more waiting. We're on the move. So I was pleasantly surprised. It was a surprise for the better, which doesn't often happen. And when was the last time you were furious? Furious. Irate. Really, really angry. As I mentioned, I managed to control my emotions quite effectively and quite well, so I don't get angry that easily, but the last time I was furious was... I don't even remember, you know? I'm not angry very often. I can't think of the last time I was angry. Like maybe a bit irritated, a bit annoyed, a bit frustrated. But furious? I genuinely don't know when this happened. Yeah, I'm beat. I'm stumped. I'm not sure what to say. Maybe I've never been furious. I'm just a chill guy. If you can remember the last time you were furious, let me know in the comments. Why were you furious? What made you furious? And so on and so forth. I'd be eager to read your opinions. And from there, let's just go over a little bit of grammar. And it's grammar but vocabulary at the same time. And tell me, what's the difference between adjectives that end in ed and adjectives that end in ing? You know what I mean, right? Bored, boring, tired, tiring, exhausted, exhausting, frustrated, frustrating, excited, exciting. There are many of these adjectives that either end in ed or ing. And it's a source of confusion for many people and many of my students that I've explained a lot, but for some people it's quite hard to get their head around it. It's quite hard to understand and grasp this concept. So, what's the difference between ed and ing adjectives? Let me tell you through some examples. Right now, I feel very tired because it's been a tiring week. I'm excited about the weekend because my plans are really exciting. I haven't felt bored for ages because life isn't boring. So Studying, analyzing, looking into these examples, what's the difference? Bored? Boring. Let me tell you, I'll put you out of your misery. I'll stop this frustration because I don't want you to feel frustrated because I'm asking you frustrating questions. So if an adjective used to describe emotions ends in ed, it is speaking about how you feel. Therefore, it's an emotion. It's a temporary state. I'm excited to go away this weekend. I'm not bored. I'm tired. There are many more examples, but I think you get the idea. And this is the case because my routine is tiring. So ing describes the situation, the thing, the process, something that is the cause of your feeling. As a result, it's much more permanent. So then when some people hear or say, my teacher is bored, or my teacher is boring, this can mean two very, very different things. I hope, if you consider me to be your teacher, that you don't think I'm boring, because boring would be describing my personality in general, and bored is describing the feeling. So if a teacher is bored, he or she is like, I wonder when the time will finish. I'm so bored. And if a teacher is boring, it means they're not interesting, that you feel bored when you're listening to your boring teacher. So that is the difference between ed and ing adjectives when speaking about emotions. But let's practice a little bit of that. I've got one or two activities that we can review before we move on and maybe call it a day. So let me share my screen once again. And this activity, well, it's 50-50. You can choose between two options. Each one is with ed or ing. And again, I recommend that maybe you watch this part. So let me read the examples and you choose if it's ed or ing. Number 1. I enjoyed the film, but it was really frightening or frightened. The correct answer, I enjoyed the film, but it was really frightening. It was frightening. It's something. Therefore, we cannot use frightened because that is the emotion. That is the feeling. And if it's a film, it doesn't have a feeling. Number 2. I have never been that interested in or interesting in football. Right now we know it is I, so it could very likely be an emotion. Let's find out. I have never been that interested in football. That's my opinion, my emotion. Because as a result, this person doesn't think that football is interesting. So I've never been that interested in football. Number 3. I'm bored of or boring of this series. It's so repetitive. The correct answer is I'm bored of this series. It's so repetitive, meaning that the series is boring. Number 4. I can't stop reading this book. It's so excited or exciting. Let me tell you, therefore it has to be ing, it is exciting. So I can't stop reading this book. It's so exciting. I'm so excited when I read it. Number 5. I'm feeling very tiring. I think I'm going to go to bed. Easy peasy. I'm feeling, so ed. I'm feeling very tired, so I'm going to go to bed. Number 6. I can't find my glasses. That's so annoyed or annoying. I had them 2 minutes ago. Here, I can't find my glasses. That's so annoying. I had them 2 minutes ago. Here we need to use ing because we're using that, which is just like when you use it. It shows that it is a person or a thing, a situation. It's not a feeling. And number 7. Congratulations on your exam results. You must be so pleased or pleasing. Well, congratulations on your exam results. You must be so pleased. You must be so happy. And the results are pleasing. Number 8. Is everything okay? Are you all right? You look very worried or worrying. Here, you look like you seem. It seems like you feel. So, is everything okay? Are you all right? You look very worried. You look worried. Is everything all right? And lastly, number 9, that's so confused or confusing. I don't understand it at all. I gave you a trick earlier. If we use that or it, we need ing. So, that's so confusing. I don't understand it at all. How was that? All clear? I think so. I think if you're listening to this podcast, watching this video, I reckon you already know this difference. But let me know if that was useful. And hopefully now you can differentiate perfectly between ed adjectives and ing adjectives. And the sun is starting to come out. The sun is shining. Hallelujah! I'm starting to cheer up. You know, I've been productive. I've recorded a podcast. The sun is coming out. The clouds are disappearing. What a moment to be alive. What a fantastic piece of news. But before we finish, let's answer a few more questions and then review some of the advanced words and phrases that were used earlier. So, for example, a question. What makes you feel annoyed? And what do you find annoying? Well, I feel annoyed when I leave something at home and I've got to walk up the stairs again to go grab it, because this is an annoying thing. It's an annoying moment. And what about talk about what makes you feel stressed and what you find stressful? Just a little note here that stressed, ed, and then instead of saying stressing, we use stressful. So I feel stressed when I don't know how much money I'm going to make. Because this scenario can be quite stressful. You know, I've got bills to pay. I've got money that I want to save. So sometimes it can be a little bit stressful when I'm not sure how much I'm going to earn in a week, month, year, and so on. And one more. Talk about what makes you embarrassed and what you find embarrassing. Well, I get embarrassed fairly easy, to be honest. But it's becoming less and less common. Now, I get embarrassed once in a blue moon. Very rarely. But I do get embarrassed when I go to a party or an event and my cheeks are bright red or I'm sweating a lot, then I do get a little bit embarrassed because I find that these moments, these awkward social gatherings, can be quite embarrassing. At least at the beginning, when you're shaking hands, you're waving, you're saying hello to everybody, introducing yourself. I often overheat and I start sweating. And it's a vicious cycle because the more I sweat, the more embarrassed I feel. Because looking at me, the sweaty guy in the corner, makes me feel self-conscious and a bit embarrassed. It's an embarrassing situation, don't you think? But hey, that's just me. Now, do you remember the expressions I taught you at the beginning? And the phrasal verbs I taught you at the beginning? Let's do a little recap. Very happy is on cloud nine or over the moon. Very sad is down in the dumps, or gutted, or blue. If you're a bit anxious, embarrassed, like in a good way, maybe related to love, you have butterflies in your stomach. And if you show your emotions very openly, you wear your heart on your sleeve. So those were the expressions. And how about the phrasal verbs? Well, if somebody is a little bit sad, you can tell them, cheer up! Cheer up, mate! Brighten up, mate! And then if somebody is very, I don't know, stressed, angry, upset, you can say, calm down, settle down, chill out, mate. And if somebody collapses emotionally, they break down. Maybe they could break down in tears. And lastly, if you open up, you share your emotions, you share your feelings. Whereas if you bottle up your feelings, you hide or suppress them. So, in which kind of side or camp are you? Do you tend to open up with the people around you, or do you prefer to bottle up your feelings? Let me know in the comments. If you want classes with me, check out the link in the description. It's been a pleasure. I've been Lewis. This has been the British English Pod, and it's been an absolute joy. So thanks for listening or watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!